Welcome to my podcast, Spilling the Rec Tea. It's been a while since I posted last. I was on a bit of a hiatus. However, I'm back. My name is Daisy Laria. Please make sure to follow me on LinkedIn as well. So today I am joined by Mahmoud Ali. Welcome.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm very excited to speak with you. Me and Mahmoud actually met the other day. We went to a tech recruitment event, which was quite fun. So Mahmoud works for Nike, and he's going to give us a bit of an introduction, about himself. So Mahmoud, please tell us how you started your career in recruitment.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and it was definitely nice to see you a couple of days ago, yesterday actually, in the event that we've had at WRK. So a little bit of a background about me. Obviously, I'm Mahmoud. I am originally from Egypt. That's where I grew up and I lived for most of my life. I did my university there. I studied business management, and then I got into recruitment about 6 years ago and some change now. So I started recruitment in 2016. Like everybody, I think most people in recruitment, they didn't really want to be a recruiter. They just stumbled upon the career. So basically, my first job actually was a customer service agent for Vodafone UK. I was just talking to angry customers on the phone every day. And then I found a job in recruitment. I was very interested in HR, and I just wanted to, explore that field. So I found the first job. It was in a customer service recruiting agency. So basically, I moved from an agent to recruiting agents. So that was my first job in 2016. First time trying recruitment. I was like, okay, why not? Let's just try it. They didn't really need experience. I didn't have any experience. So I was like, okay, perfect job for me. I tried it. It was very nice. I really liked recruitment then. I liked the idea of it. The company I worked for then, it wasn't exactly what I was looking for in recruitment, but it was a nice start for me to kind of just understand how recruitment works. And then from there, I jumped onto an agency after an agency. I think I spent 4 years of my recruitment career mainly working with agencies in different industries, working on different functions. And then for the past 3 years, I kind of moved a little bit into in-house teams and mostly focused on tech recruitment until now. That's just a very quick brief about myself.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you had done recruitment in different sectors. How did you go into tech? Was it preference, or did you fall into tech?
Yeah, that's a really nice question. So I started off, like I said, with agencies, and in an agency, you basically try everything. So, tried FMCGs, telecom companies, engineering, technology. And when I worked with a couple of clients in technology, I just really enjoyed what they do. I think you can also agree, tech is one of the most dynamic industries. It's very competitive. It's very challenging. And I love recruiting other fields, and I love recruiting in other industries as well. But just technology was the one that I was like, okay, I really, really want to specialize in that field. I like to be challenged all the time. I like to work in a very competitive market. And I think technology is one of those markets that is just insanely competitive, especially nowadays with how it is. So that's why I just was like, okay, I wanted to move a little bit into a tech role. I did it. Obviously, first, when you try doing tech recruiting, you just don't understand anything because I'm not from an engineering background or a computer science background. I did not understand a word from what I was looking for. But then, a day after the other, you kind of learn everything. And I just fell in love with tech recruiting, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And also you've relocated to Amsterdam to start your career here. Maybe for those that are watching, I have a couple of people on LinkedIn that ask me on messaging, that they want to relocate to Amsterdam eventually. It's very difficult to break into this market as well. Perhaps if you can share your story, it might give people some inspiration or guidelines on how to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So starting 2021, I started thinking about moving abroad. I worked all my life in Egypt. I really loved it there. My whole family's there, my friends. I had a great job there. But I just tried to think of, okay, if I want to go into the real tech world, unfortunately, some of the big companies or how competitive the market is here is very different than Egypt. And that's when I decided that I want to make the move and move abroad. And the Netherlands to me was my first option because I already worked with a Dutch company remotely from Egypt for about 1.5 years when I was there. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to move into a market that I kind of already know how it works.
Okay.
And I kind of also knew a couple of people here. So starting 2021, obviously, like anybody else, started looking on LinkedIn, started reaching out to a couple of recruiters. And then I spoke with one of the was actually my ex-manager right now. Who's his name is Paul, and he worked at Mobiquity, and that's when they were looking for a recruiter. I was looking for a recruiting job in Amsterdam, and that's why we connected on LinkedIn. I asked them if they support relocation, and they said yes, and we just hopped on a call. It was a perfect match for both of us, and then it happened. Honestly, relocation to the Netherlands is probably one of the easiest to, like, the country itself is one of the easiest to relocate to compared to other countries. Like, I know a couple of friends who moved to Germany, or I think I was speaking also to someone a couple of weeks ago that she was moving to Austria, and it's just very, very hard. The process is insanely difficult to move. But when you think about the Netherlands, it was very smooth. A month and a half, and I already got everything. I think in 2 months I was already in the country. So definitely moving here is easy, but it's not like, because you speak to everybody, you speak to some people who just want to move and that's it. You need to have a reason why you want to move. You need to find a job that is suitable for you, and also, what is most importantly, that the company provides relocation, because not every company can do that, and also not every company is going to relocate anyone, because if you're not that good, then why would we pay extra money to relocate you from a different company while we can actually get someone from the local market? So, so definitely relocation is easy, but it needs a little bit of research from your side or a candidate side, and also obviously needs that you really need to be good at what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And I also relocated from the UK to the Netherlands. However, I was not as prepared as you. To be honest, I did next to none research, nothing at all. So when I basically just booked a one-way flight to Amsterdam, and I had a job to go to, essentially. However, once I got to Amsterdam, I was lost. I had no idea what to do. So like Mahmoud just said, if you are looking to move to the Netherlands and you think you can make, contribution to one of the big companies here as well, and you'd like to join them, definitely look into and research the Netherlands. Reach out to people like Mahmoud's done on LinkedIn, and speak to them as well, and make sure that the company does relocation. Otherwise, there's just lots of things like BSN, Dutch Bank. All of these details I didn't know, and I wish I did.
Long process.
So like the actual flight is quite quick, and the moving itself is the fastest bit, but it's everything that comes afterwards, essentially, that's a bit of a pain in the butt. So that's what's good with the relocation. But how are you finding it here then? You're settled, you're also working for a big company now as well.
Definitely working with Nike is awesome, but the whole transition was with Mobiquity when I moved in first last year. Actually, for last week, it was my anniversary here, so I'm also celebrating my 1 year in the Netherlands. No, I really love it here. Thank you. No, I really, really like it here. I love how international the city is. I live in Amsterdam, so I really love how international the city is. You don't really feel that you're the only expat here, because I think half of the city is expats, so you just kind of integrate very easily. But also I really like how open the country is. It's just everywhere is beautiful. It's very different than where I come from. I still don't speak Dutch. I'm still trying to do that. I think the most Dutch thing I've done so far is just cycle with my hands off the handle. But
wow, I haven't done that.
It needs some practicing and some fall downs. But I'm still also trying to learn Dutch. I really love the language, and honestly, so far it took me obviously a couple of months to try to understand how things work here. But it's been a year now, and I really love it. And also working with Nike right now, it's a very international company. So also at Nike, I think I've seen more internationals than even more Dutch people or locals. So but also that's something that I also expected working at a big company like Nike. It's definitely a nice company to work for right now.
Yeah, and I was going to say, so you've worked in both markets, so in Egypt and now in Amsterdam. How different are they?
That's a really good question. So Egypt is I really like working there. It's a very mature market when it comes to specific industries. But again, focusing on technology, and that is also, again, my own opinion. Obviously, everybody will have their own opinion, but to me, I would say the biggest difference is one, the market here is more mature than Egypt when it comes to technology and when it comes to recruitment as well. And I don't really mean it in a bad way, but because of because we have a lot of tech giants here in the Netherlands or in the region that are not existing in the region, in the Middle East or in Egypt. And because of that, we have a very fierce competition when it comes to talents. That really pushes people to be more innovative and to use more advanced tools and strategies and technologies and what. So that really makes the market here more mature and more kind of advanced than the market in Egypt. So I would say this is one of the big differences. A second thing, I really haven't thought about it, but yeah, I would say this is to me is the biggest difference. Maybe a second one is also how, again, it will basically fall into the first reason, is how competitive the market is here. Again, because here, I don't think it's been only about recruiting people in the Netherlands. Now you find recruiters, and also myself, we now go outside of even Europe and try to find people everywhere, which people in Egypt don't really do it that way, because it's also a bit hard to relocate people, and because of currency differences and whatnot. So
exactly.
So yeah, I would definitely say it's just the competition and the maturity of the market is a bit different. Especially in technology. Maybe different industries we have that are very, very mature, but in technology, I would say it's more mature here and more competitive.
Yeah, and just going back to when we went to the event this week, we were all in tech recruitment pretty much. And I don't know how many people we spoke to at that event, but I was just listening to conversations about people giving each other advice about how to source and different tools and with relocation and things like that. And it was so interesting just hearing everyone's point of views, because although we're doing technically the same job, we're doing it, like you said, it's so saturated, so competitive, that we're all trying different avenues in different ways. And we're even going out of our way to do events, physical, virtual, just to attract not only people in tech, but also people to join us directly at Darwin as well. So of course you came with us to the event. Do you do much like meetups in Amsterdam as well?
So the thing is, this is still new. Like everything after COVID, we're still trying to do meetups again. So this was my second one, actually. The first meetup I've done was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was the Van Move recruitment meetup. And it was also very, very nice. And this was the second one that I went to, and I'm definitely more interested to go to more, because like you've seen, you see people from. I think we've met a lot of people that we are connected with on LinkedIn. We see them posting every day, but we've never met them in real life. So it's very refreshing to see people in real life again, to talk to them in real life, and also just to sit down and listen to amazing panels and amazing speakers like the ones we had last session.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think one of the things I was hearing a lot as well, and I think we've discussed this, Mahmoud, as well, is so of course we advertise a lot of jobs and people want to move to the Netherlands, and they connect with us and send us messages just saying, hey, can you just look at my CV and see what jobs you have available? So I think for people who are perhaps looking for work, looking to move to Amsterdam, or looking to join companies like my company Darwin or Nike, if I was a candidate and I went to add you on LinkedIn and I really wanted to work in Nike as a tech person, let's say an engineer, what would be the best way as a candidate to kind of go around that, because you get lots of messages every day?
Yeah, definitely. And it's also not just me or not just Nike. I think all recruiters on LinkedIn, we get messages daily from candidates. And yeah, exactly. It's exactly. And it is a nice thing, for candidates to reach out to you, because, especially in technology, it is a candidate driven market, and we have to go and find candidates. It's not like how it was before. So it's always nice to receive messages. But again, because we receive a lot of messages, when someone message me and say, hey, here's my CV, look at it and please find me a job, I'm not going to do that, because we first of all, we don't have the time to do that. But also especially at Nike, we look to hire people who are genuinely interested to join the company, who've done research, who know exactly what they want. These are the people that we usually call them, the star candidates or the ace candidates or whatever. These are the people that we want to hire, not someone who just throws their CV and they say, hey, find us a job. So I would definitely recommend, and this is what I always recommend my friends, this what worked with me before, this what worked for my friends. Always find the company that you want to work for. That's just the first step. The industry that you want to work in, find the list of the companies in that industry that you're interested to work in. and then look up their career site and look if they do actually have a job that would fit you, because they might not have that job. So if you send it to a recruiter, they will either say, sorry, we don't have anything, or they're not just going to respond because they don't have the time to do so. So find first the job on the career site or on LinkedIn or whatever, and then try to find the recruiter who's recruiting the job. Sometimes it's hard to find that. So if it is, just find a recruiter, on that who works for that company on LinkedIn, and then just send them a message, say, hey, I've seen that you guys are recruiting for example, let's say a data engineer role. I think that I would be a great fit for the role. Here's my CV, and just like a 1 or 2 liners of summarizing what you do, and say, hey, it would be awesome if I can have a call with the hiring manager or with you to kind of go more into the role, and my background as well. I think that would definitely work way more than just sending your CV or just sending it on email, or even sometimes applying on the career site, because from the back end, if we have a lot of applications, it takes us time to find your application. But on the other side, if you reached out to me on LinkedIn, I automatically remember you. I automatically know your name.
Yeah,
especially if you have especially if you have a nice message, then I just already know who you are. So even if the role is filled, or even if we don't have that role anymore, I will still remember you. And if we have another role, I will automatically reach out to you and say, hey, Daisy, we have this role right now. What about this role? If you're interested, let's just have a chat. So definitely this works more, because you just kind of already build a relationship with the recruiter before other candidates who are waiting in the line on a career site or sending their CVs. So definitely, I think this is the most effective way to reach out to recruiters and to find a job, basically.
Yeah, I agree with you with the double method. I think it's important to, like you said, establish a relationship, but also go out of your way. If you really want to work at this company and they do have an opening that aligns with what you do, it makes sense to have that initial conversation. But like you've said, I think every recruiter is being bombarded with messages every day. I get random ones as well that are not in any of my niche. I've never worked in that department, so it's also quite overwhelming for us. It's not that we don't want to help people. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot of volume coming in and having to filter. So
what about you? What do you think works for you as well?
No, same here. So the most memorable people I've had is people even so when I've hired, for example, for Gizu, the previous company I was corporate at, we sourced a lot on Instagram, which is really random because it's a very digital, social media heavy, marketing hair brand company. So we sourced on Instagram, which was quite interesting as well. So I'd also get people who applied, but they would never send me emails, but they would send me an Instagram message. So they had like their portfolio technically on their page, which was visible to me, and just say, hey, I've applied, just letting you know, this is my online portfolio. And then that for me stuck out so much because it was visual. I could get to know them. They've reached out to me and I remember the name because they've applied, although I had hundreds of applications as well. So like you said, I think that's one of the better avenues, as opposed to finding some random recruiter in a company or even not associated with it saying, hey, find me a job.
Exactly. Definitely agree.
So that's good. So for whoever's watching, it's good to get that type of advice as well. Mahmoud, I'm curious if you maybe had some questions for me, or you wanted to touch base on a topic.
I do. So I actually, because I know I spoke with you yesterday and you told me that you've tried both. I actually don't know if it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Or was it 2 days ago?
Before, I think.
Oh, 2 days ago. It was Wednesday. Right. But I remember that you told me that you've actually you are currently working with an agency. You've done working with an agency before, and you've also done in-house, in a corporate. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the difference between both?
Good question. And I guess for anyone who's wanting to go into recruitment, switch agency or switch to in-house, for me the biggest difference, because you've got same experience, right? You've done agency, you've done corporate. I've dabbled into interim, agency, corporate. The biggest difference for me, I think corporate is so you get the jobs given to you, right? You can either be a generalist recruiter or niche to marketing, e-commerce, warehouse and product and stuff like that. But you get the jobs given to you, and then you have to talk to the hiring manager, establish a relationship, really work as a business partner with them. I just find that it's just different, that it's more relationship building, I find. Essentially, you're like an extension of the business. And not only are you writing a job advert, but you are branding, you're advertising your company, right? As a corporate, it's really important. And it's also about finding like the right fit, you know, with everything, and also skill wise, someone that wants to stay in the company and grow. So it's a lot more of a long game, I think, with corporate, and it's nice. I've really had some good times working corporate. It's been a good experience. Agency, depending if you're doing permanent or freelance jobs as well, it's definitely fast paced, tenacious. You know, you have to really have like a sales mindset, especially if you're 360. You have to acquire your own business. You have to have those uncomfortable conversations with HR, procurement of other companies and hiring managers, and build relationships in a much more, it's not as easy as corporate, for example. But it just depends what you enjoy, isn't it? So I find corporate is difficult. I find the volume, particularly if you're in a scale up or a large company, volume is intense. If you've got 25, 30, 35 roles, or even 15, but very difficult roles under your belt, with deadlines, it's very stressful. It's really intense. Whilst with agency, the stressful part is having to acquire in business, making sure candidates are working exclusively with you and not going to leave and, you know, quit their jobs or not pass probation, you know, when you've placed them. And also targets. I find that agency has a lot of much more tighter deadlines, and it can be stressful for some people to work that way. So it depends whether you are excited by making a company grow, just one company grow, you know, expand, become international, and make an impact, make a difference in a company, versus do you get excitement from talking to lots of different clients and helping candidates find jobs quickly and making an impact in a different way. So that's my difference. I hope that made sense. I just kind of went on a bit of
definitely. No, made total sense, of course. No, I
Do you
totally
agree with what I was saying?
No, I definitely agree. But but also like I think you also might get that question a lot from people who always come and ask, should I work in an agency or an in-house or a corporate team? And I get that question a lot, especially from people who are just starting their careers in recruitment and they don't know what to do because they have both on the table and they just confused of what to do. And the answer I always give, and again, it's my own opinion, but there's always advantages on both sides. You know, there's always pros and cons on both sides. What I see from an in-house team, if you work at an in-house or a corporate team, I would say some of the advantages of the pros that you get, for example, number one is you get to be a subject matter expert in a specific industry. So if you're working in a company, let's say in technology or FMCGs or whatever, you get to recruit people from the same industry. You get to keep up with the trends and the competitors in the same industry and so forth. So you really become an expert in that industry, and you might not know other industries, but you just become an expert in that one. So anything I would want to know about FMCGs, I would just come to Daisy, for example. You would tell me everything about FMCGs. So that is one thing that really you get from an in-house or a corporate team. Another thing as well is you have the ownership of the candidates and the projects you work on. So one of the things that I didn't really have that I absolutely love right now working at a corporate versus an agency. In an agency, when you hire someone, you hire them and that's it. You never see them again. But in a corporate, I'm hiring someone who's going to probably be my next hiring manager or going to be my next colleague or whatever, or I'm just going to see them on the office at some day. So, and that is really nice because you get to see the benefit of what you do later on. And also another thing is you have ownership of the projects you work on. So for example, you're having a project to work on interview training for the hiring managers or interviewers, or you're working on a job description writing project or whatever it is, onboarding a new tool. So you really get to see that as well in the future affecting the business somehow, which you don't really get to see working in an agency. So this is, for example, some of the thing. And also most companies and most corporates, not all obviously, but most corporates have a specific structure that is written there. Everything is systematic, everything is structured. You know how the process works, and probably you have sourcing teams, you have recruiter teams. So you really have everything in a more of a structured way. But when you go on an agency side, some of the advantages as well is you don't necessarily become, it depends on the agency you work for, but you don't necessarily become an expert at one industry, but you really know everything. So you basically get a bit of everything. And that's what I really loved working in an agency when I started off, because I didn't know anything about recruitment. I didn't know what FMCG is. I didn't know what telecommunications is. And you get to learn that through the requisitions that you get from those clients. So you kind of really know a bit of everything. and that will really help you later on decide which industry you want to stay in. Because if I wouldn't have done agencies, I wouldn't have chosen technology, because I've seen it working in an agency and I really loved it. So that is one thing as well that you really get from working in an agency. A second thing that I think as a pro or advantage is you really become resilient. You develop this resilience skill. Like you said, it's very tenacious, and it's not for everybody to work in an agency. Let me put it that way. So you really learn how to multitask, how to juggle a million projects at the same time, how to, be speaking to candidates, but also handling clients, but also closing this offer, doing a million things at the same time. And I think that is something that you might not learn in a corporate right away, but you definitely get through an agency. So that is definitely one thing that I really loved, that I developed in an agency, and I think it's one of the biggest advantages there. And then of course there are cons from both, but I don't really want to talk about cons or whatever, because I love the job with its pros and cons. But that's what I see as advantages on both sides. So it really depends on where you at your career, where you want to decide where you go. But I definitely advise, again, as a personal opinion, if someone is starting recruitment, I would definitely advise to go through an agency first for a couple of years. Get that, develop that resilience, develop that, love for recruitment, identify which part of the recruitment you love the most. You might want to do sourcing. You might want to be a recruiter. You might want to be an FMCG recruiter. You might want to be a technology recruiter. So that's something you will really learn in an agency for a couple of years, and then decide to leave an agency and go for a corporate, because corporates are different. Like you said, volumes are high. You need to be ready to do a corporate job. And honestly, I also think it's easier to find an agency job than in corporate, because usually corporates look for people who already have the experience.
Exactly.
So, but in an agency, they always look for people to come in, they teach them, and then they start taking on actual requisitions with clients. So definitely an agency will be easier.
And I find that with agencies, they have a much thorough training program at the beginning. So you really learn everything. So you kind of start as a delivery, you go 180, and then you move on to the client side. And normally, well, I don't know about other agencies, but for example, my agency's got a very thorough, like 4-week training program and onboarding. And it's although I'd gone from corporate back to agency, even though I've got experience in it, it was just nice to be kind of slowed into it, refresher, and also just be eased into it as opposed to just thrown in the deep end. Whilst like you said, I think a lot of companies are looking for talent acquisition specialists, bit of a stutter, and they want people with mixed experience, whether it's that they've had 6 months but some experience, because otherwise if they just get thrown in to just hiring lots of positions in-house, it might get a bit intense, and it might just be a bit too much, like you said. But I think we spoke about this before, where I've noticed as well when I was corporate, you can kind of tell who's from an agency background and who's always been corporate, just with the ways that people handle like the hiring process and the situations that happen. For example, if someone doesn't accept an offer, or if someone drops out, and decides to resign and in their probation period and stuff like that. I remember you had a similar view to me as well about that.
Exactly.
The fact that agency people tend to be a little bit more on the reactive.
More on it. Yes, exactly. They're more reactive, like I said. I think you put it perfectly. They're more reactive. They're more on top of whatever they work on. And again, people who only did corporate recruitment, they're still great. They're still. We see giants in recruitment who've only done with corporate, and they're still really good at what they do. But it's just, again, it's a personal opinion, and it's just, like you said, when you go into a company, you really get to see who's coming from an agency and who's not. People who are coming from an agencies, they're used to be always in plot. They're always doing something. They never sit still. And that's because as an agency. In a corporate, you might have a season of high volume and then a season of not hiring anything. In an agency, you don't really get that, because if one client is not hiring, there are 3-4 other clients who are still hiring. So you're always on the go. So like I definitely agree with you. When you join a company or you see a bunch of recruiters, from their work who's actually coming from an agency and who's been only doing corporate. And again, nothing bad. It's just different ways styles. Of working.
And I like the work, like the environment balance, I guess, because you can't have everyone thinking the same and doing the same. Although the hiring process should be streamlined and similar, because it's essentially employer branding, right? You should be, because it's different departments tackling problems differently, and just different hiring managers as well. Maybe they like slower paced hiring, maybe they need someone straight away, and they need solutions now. So some techniques might not be efficient as the others. But do you think we can, if we were in the same environment like that, we could learn from each other? So if someone was from an agency, maybe to give advice to the people who'd been there a while as a corporate, or would it cause?
It's a good question. I would be biased to answer that question because I have not done only corporate. So I don't know if I'm a person who only done corporate recruitment. I don't know what would they give an advice.
We're hybrids.
Yeah, like I don't know, but I would definitely know for an agency recruiter, and because I have done that. I joined a corporate. The first corporate I joined in Egypt, I joined there, and there was a bunch of recruiters there who only have done corporate, or they were just juniors and just joining us as junior recruiters. And then you just kind of really not teach them, but just share with them how to, first of all, juggle a couple of projects at the same time without going insane or going crazy. Second thing is how to, like I said, how to be resilient, because we work sometimes with very tough hiring managers. You really need to, this is part of the job. You really need to develop this stakeholder management, this way of partnering with the business, which sometimes you really get it from an agency, because again, you talk with so many people, hiring managers or interviewers from different companies with different complexities and different levels, different industries. You just genuinely see everything. So you just kind of, how I always said it to friends as a joke, you just kind of, everything. So if you put me in this position, I will know I know what to do. If you put me in this company with this level or this complexity, I will know what to do. So I would say this is something that an agency recruiter can give for a corporate recruiter. The other way around, I don't know. I would lie if I said so. Maybe you can let me know, but I haven't done only corporate, so I don't know, honestly.
I'm just so much more. Yeah, I've done corporate, but like you, I don't know. Yeah, I'm hybrid.
You started in an agency first, yes.
Yes, I feel like I would be biased. But, no, but that's good. So so essentially, I think what's important for maybe people watching who want to get into recruitment, don't really know how, or if someone's just finished university, wants to get into recruitment, doesn't know what way to go about it. Agency, definitely, they're always looking. Try and pick a nice one. I'm not gonna say who is nice. You can figure that out by yourself. But just get that training, get that exposure, and then it could be for you forever. Like I've decided that agency is for me. I'm not going to go in-house anytime soon. It's just something that I prefer. But if you maybe think corporate might be your thing after that, it's always okay to make the switch and then just see, if you can handle, scaling up a company in Amsterdam.
And it's nice to try as well. Like it's nice to try from an agency, jump on an in-house team, whether it's a startup or already a big organization. Give it a try, see if you like it. If it's too much, if you really miss, because I know a lot of people who've done agencies moved with me to a corporate and they were like, nah, this is not for me. Like I don't want to be only hiring for one product or one company. That's just not for me, because they really love how the agency brings the variety of recruiting for different fields, different corporate functions, different, everything. So they just didn't really like the idea of only working on one product or one company, having the same pitch for every candidate. They just didn't really enjoy that, or didn't sit well with them. So they just went back to an agency. So, and it's completely understandable. Every person has a different way of working, and like you said, a different style. So it depends on who you are as a person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I actually have a question for you, Daisy. I wanted to ask you, in a very, very changing recruitment market, and you see market change, recruitment changes literally every day.
Yes.
What would you advise as the top skill or trend that people should know, or recruiters should know or learn about, to kind of cope with future recruitment?
I had one thing pop up in my head straight away, but I don't know if it's cliche. I think as long as you're emotionally intelligent, so you can be like the best salesperson, you can be the best recruiter, but I feel like if you don't have emotional intelligence, if you're not able to understand what the person on the other side, whether it's a hiring manager, a candidate, whoever, if you're not able to put yourself in their shoes, understand what they're asking of you or what they need, you're just kind of working selfishly in a way. Does that sound strange? I don't know. People have many different motives as to why they do corporate or agency recruitment or stumbled into recruitment in the first place. But for me, it's really like a people profession. So I really like to understand everyone's points of views. I like to make sure that everyone's happy during the processes.
Yeah.
And yeah, if things fall apart, that I'm the one to kind of piece everything back together. So I think emotional intelligence is like number one thing I think people should be looking to utilize to their advantage, but also enhance in a way. Do you mean like trends as well, like things happening at the moment?
No, not necessarily. I think what you said is perfect. I think, yeah, and it's very, very valid as well, because I've seen actually a couple of recruiters who do recruitment, but they just don't have this emotional intelligence part. They don't have this people connection thing, which makes their life very hard, because if you're not a people person, you just really cannot do this job. It's just, you have to speak with people every day, people from different backgrounds, different perspectives, different ways of thinking than you. Exactly. So if you're not really open and having this people, I don't know how to put it, but I think, yeah, maybe like you put it, as just having this emotional intelligence part, it will be just very hard for you to do this job. So no, I definitely agree with you. I think definitely it's one of the things that I would also think about. But for me, I would say being a true partner to the business is something that is lacking a bit in recruitment, and is very, very important, because nowadays, especially in tech, I would just talk about technology because that's what I know, but especially in technology, recruitment is a vital part in the process in any technology company right now, because of how competitive the market is, because of how I call it, the war of talents is going on right now, and everybody is looking to hire engineers. Everybody is paying a lot of money. So I would definitely say recruitment is a big part of technology. And if you're not a true partner of the business, and if you don't really partner with the business, and if you're just an order taker, then this is not really how to do the job nowadays. You know, being an order taker, even if you're just a junior recruiter, being just an order taker or an operational recruiter, this is not, again, my opinion, this is not how recruitment should be done at the moment. You know, you have to come in, you have to be a true business partner to your team, to the hiring managers that you work with. You have to set up, you know, weekly or bi-weekly meetings with them, not to go on, not even to talk about candidates, but just to talk about how the market is going, how difficult the role is, or maybe a new strategy that we can do, not just with you as a recruiter and the other team to think about a strategy. You also need to include your hiring managers and the business team as well. So I would definitely say being a true business partner nowadays is just very, very important to, first of all, to succeed as a recruiter, and at the same time to hire people in the business, because if you and the business are not on the same page, you're just not going to hire someone, or you're just gonna have live a hell basically. So so definitely being a true business partner, having those very sharp stakeholder management skills, and being able to talk with everybody in the business, and not just your manager who gives you an order and then you do it and that's it.
Transactional.
Exactly. Transactional. I like that.
With that, I was wondering, so because you're doing tech recruitment, imagine if I'm a recruiter who's doing finance and I want to go into tech because there's a lot of money in there. The market's hot in Amsterdam. Do you think I would need to do some like online courses, niche down, learn about DevOps and data and stuff, take an interest in it? Or could I just go into recruitment, you know, take, like you said, take orders from the hire manager and my manager, and just kind of follow with keyword searching?
That is a very good question. It's a really good question.
I'm so sorry.
No worries. So my personal opinion, I think you can still, if you're a good recruiter. So the thing is, recruitment is still the same, whether you do tech or corporate or finance, whatever it is. Recruitment is still the same. You still go through probably the same process. You still have the same stakeholders, but just with different functions. But you still do the same thing. You still close the same people. You still do the same thing. So if you're a good recruiter, you really know how to transition from one function to the other. But with technology, and with what I said, you can still get a job in recruitment. It depends on how good you are and how good you present yourself. But if you really want to be good as like a plug and play and like be good at whatever function you will be recruiting in tech, I definitely think, like you said, you don't really need a course, but you just need to read a lot about first of all the company you're applying for, because it depends what kind of technology you're going to recruit for. Is it Is it infrastructure? Is it data? You know, is it software? It depends. So you really need to read a lot about it. Not that you're going to be an expert. I am not an expert. I recruit for data engineers, and I am far away from being an expert, but at least I know how the market works. I know what the jobs I'm recruiting for requires. And especially, like I said in the beginning, if you're going into tech for the first time, you start to hear a lot of things that you don't even know what that is, you know, DevOps and Java, and like, what the hell is this? You don't really know. So you just need to read a little bit online, speak with a fellow engineer, that you maybe a friend or something, speak with a fellow tech recruiter, understand how it works. Because I said that mostly the process is still the same, but sometimes it's a bit different when technology, because we do have take-home assignments, we have, you know, HackerRank tests or Codility or whatever the company uses. You know, every company has a different way of doing recruitment, but mostly the process is the same. So again, you can, if you're a good recruiter, you can always transfer your skills from sales or finance to tech, but you just need to have that tech understanding of what you're going to recruit. Because again, if I'm interviewing you, for example, Daisy, and you've never done a tech job in your life, I would definitely ask you, how are you going to transition? If you right now, Daisy, if you have a DevOps engineer role, show me your market mapping for the role. Show me what kind of questions you're going to ask compared to the job description. Here's a job description. Show me the questions that you're going to ask, just to make sure that the candidate checks the boxes that they need. Because obviously, when I go into an interview, I'm not a tech person. I don't do tech interviews. But I know the check boxes that I need to check to pass them to a technical assessment. So I would say these are the things that I would do.
I completely agree. I think if you do take an interest in it, that's good. I mean, it would definitely help. But if you're quite a generalist, you need to just understand the overview of how everything works. What's the hierarchy? What's important, what's not. I think that's also, you know, that comes with the job. And like you said, if you are a good recruiter, and you're able to kind of establish the key points of a job description and what's needed from hiring manager, then that's also good. But I remember when I transitioned, so I was doing recruitment for drivers, really random. So when I was in the UK, I was hiring like lorry drivers, delivery drivers. It was quite an interesting business. There's always market, people driving around. So it was so transport essentially. So I went from that, and then I joined my company in 2018, and it was tech, and I had to do a presentation as to how I would break into the Dutch tech market, and I've never lived there before. So although we've had training and stuff, I also took it upon myself, because I just want to be, you know, I want to be seen, like you said, as a business partner, like someone who's quite reactive, someone who kind of knows what they're talking about, but I'm not going to become an engineer. I just want to know what they do to find the right person. So I've actually done like a full-on DevOps LinkedIn course as well. It wasn't too long, but it was very, very thorough, just because I didn't understand much about like cloud. When you can't see it, I don't really understand. So if it's like GCP, AWS, I'm like, I have no idea what it does. That's just me being completely honest. So looking into that, and also YouTube videos, if you don't understand like what Power BI is or something like that, you can just YouTube it, and then there's like very good like infographic videos explaining in layman's terms, like this does this to do this, and then it kind of makes you understand. I remember the other week I had a very random role for like an Infoblox engineer. Never heard this technology before. It must be very outdated. So I actually called a guy who kind of fitted the job description I'd recently spoken to, but we've got quite a nice working relationship. So I just called him and I said, hey, super random, I have no idea what Infoblox is, can you tell me what it is? And he spent time out of his day to explain like very simple terms. It does this, it's a very old technology, you know, you're looking probably for someone who does this. And you know, I think like you said, so even speaking to either engineers you know, or people in your niche that you know, or people you don't know, people you're just trying to help find a job, they can, because they're in that industry, they're able to just educate you and explain how that works, and that's going to make you more efficient at your job, better at what you're doing.
And I think following up on the point that you just mentioned, in interviews from candidates, you can really learn a lot about the job, because I think I can count a million times I've gone into an interview with a candidate. It was the first time recruiting for that specific role, well, I have no idea what I'm recruiting for. And I just speak with the candidate and say, oh, okay, so yeah, just maybe explain to me how what DevOps is, explain to me what is the migration from one cloud to the other, explain to me how it works. I have no idea what I'm asking, but I'm going to know. They're going to explain that. And I always have this question: if I am not a technical audience, how are you going to explain that to me? And then they really baby step me through the process, which I exactly need because I am not a technical audience. And that's exactly how I learned, I think, everything about technology. Most things, I go into interviews with candidates and I try it 1, 2, 3, 4 times until I find that guy or that girl who are really good at what they do. And they really explain to me how it works. And then I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what AWS is, or this is what data engineering is. And then the next interview, I'm like, oh, okay, I actually know about this. So tell me about this, because I already heard about it. So that's how does you really get the knowledge through the interviews. And that's not just technology, by the way, that's everything. I still remember the first time I've recruited a procurement manager and I didn't know what procurement is. English is not my first language and I genuinely didn't know what procurement is. And I Googled it already just to understand what procurement is. And then I learned what supply chain is. And then through the interview, I genuinely asked the guy to explain everything that he does. And from one interview, I think it was like about 70 minutes. It was a little bit long, but I just understood everything about what the job is. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Now I'm ready to actually interview people because now I learned about the job. So it's not just technology, it's everything. FMCGs, telecom, supply chain, whatever it is. If you're recruiting a role for the first time, spend some time to learn about it in the first or second interview. That's completely fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also had this instance recently where, so one of my colleagues really specializes in QA roles, and I'm no, testers, QA, that is actually one of the niches I've never touched. But I remember one of my clients was looking for a QA person, and my colleague had read through this job description and she said, oh, he's looking for an SDET. And I'm like, what's that? I have no idea. But just having that, so she explained to me, and she's a recruiter, but because she's dived into it, working with it, looked into it, she was able to explain to me the differences. And now I'm able to go back to the hiring manager and say, hey, look, like I've got this knowledge, you're looking for this is why you haven't found someone for so long. So it's really nice also to have that, although she's not an engineer, but she's like really interested in that type of stuff. It's nice to get that knowledge from peers or from candidates as well, to use that and evaluate that and think, okay, does this role even exist? Should I be working on this, or is it going to be 2, 3 separate jobs? Is it a whole department I'm looking for? So it's also important to do that, and talk with the hiring manager, kind of guide them through the process, and be an expert, like you said, in your department at your company as well.
Exactly. I actually have a question for you. Another question. It's a little bit far away from that topic. But I wanted to know, if you've not done recruitment, what would you have done?
Oh, good one. I would have been, so I actually wanted to be a translator, really random. So I was going to go to university in Italy to do like trilingual translations, so Spanish, English, Italian, because I was looking at jobs really random, and I saw that you could translate video games, films. It was quite diverse. I thought, oh, that could be interesting, and there's quite a lot of money involved. So that was my first choice, and then I didn't pursue that. And then I was actually a dentist assistant before I was a recruiter. So I kind of fell into that one.
Nice. Dentist,
I was when you're kind of like doing HoReCa, so waitressing and stuff like that, it's in England, it's very hard to break into an office job like sales or something like that unless you've got like a qualification in it or something, or you've done an internship in it. So I was just like, okay, I'm never going to do an office job. Here I am, clearly. So with dentistry, you can actually be a nurse, a junior nurse, without any qualifications. I have qualifications, by the way, just not in nursing. But so it's really intense, and it was really interesting, and I ended up loving it. And then basically I was working towards being a dental hygienist, which is a bit crazy. I thought that would be where my career was.
And look at you now.
So basically the whole reason I went into recruitment was because I was a dentist assistant at one practice, and then a recruiter poached me to go to another one. And then I just thought, like, that's a job. what she's doing is a real job. So I was like, I'm so confused. And then I liked the whole, like, she was so friendly and she spoke with me every day and it was a very smooth process. And she ended up getting me a really nice job in the end. So I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what this job is, but I'm going to look into it. So that's when I didn't even know what HR was. I had no idea. And then that's how I started. So yeah, eventually my sister, helped me get a job at her company, which is one of the government bodies in England, which was very lucky to be my first working experience in HR. So I learned HR first, did like the back end type of thing, like the onboarding and the probations and resignations and things, then moved on to recruitment, and then now a bit of everything.
Wow, what a story. I would have not guessed that at all.
I know, I haven't put anything on LinkedIn. I don't really tell people because it's quite a long story.
Well, now everybody's going to know.
Yeah, exactly. And
cool.
I think following from that, I ask everyone who goes on the podcast, if you were to give someone advice, whether it's, you can maybe give two pieces of advice if you want to do candidates and a job seeker, or someone who wants to go into recruitment, what is your top tip?
Okay. That's a good one. For candidates, I would definitely say, I always say to friends, do not be a job seeker, become a job hunter. So really don't just be a seeker out there just looking for whatever job you can get, because we see those people on a daily basis, and it's just, you're not going to get a job with that way. You know, it's not like that anymore. So I would definitely advise candidates to become a job hunter. And by that, I mean, identify, I think I said that in the beginning of the podcast. I said, identify what you want to do, identify the field you want to work in. If you already know what you want to do, if you're an engineer or a sales guy or a marketeer, whatever it is, and you know what you want to do, identify the industry you want to work in. So sports industry, Nike, other companies. If you want to work in, FMCGs, you have a million other companies. Identify the industry, look at those companies, see if they have a role there. And then, like I said, reach out to the recruiters on LinkedIn. Yeah. And that's, I would guarantee you at least 60-70% that you're going to get a reply from that recruiter saying if you can be a fit for the job, or if the job is filled, or if you're not qualified for it, or whatever. And I guarantee you this will cut your effort in half of what you were already doing, which is just throwing your CV everywhere. So I would definitely say that would be my advice to candidates: become a hunter and not a seeker. For recruiters, or for people who want to get into recruitment, that's a good one. I don't know. It's a lot of
something that's worked for you, or something that you live by.
I would say, if someone wants to get into recruitment, I would definitely say do your research first again. But I would highly recommend meeting up or speaking with a recruiter, whether that is a random recruiter on LinkedIn. I think recruiters are very helpful, and we're very responsive. So if someone, and I think it happened to me a couple of times, someone reached out to me that I genuinely don't know, and they just wanted to learn about the field, and I would say, sure, let's do it. I actually have a coffee chat genuinely the next Tuesday in the office with an intern of ours in HR, and he wanted to learn about recruitment and how it works. And I just set up a coffee chat with him, and I'll meet him and just explain everything to him. Usually recruiters are very like, we want more recruiters in the world, so we just try to recruit everybody. So I would definitely say reach out to a recruiter, or if you know a friend, reach out to them and really understand how recruitment works, because people somehow mistake how recruitment works. It's not just interviewing. You don't just sit down, having a piece of paper, looking at people like that, trying to squeeze them, or just trying to corner them all the time to ask them questions. Recruitment is way more than that. Recruitment is part of talent acquisition. Talent acquisition is a huge process. So speak with someone, learn about how it works, learn about the day-to-day activities, but also if you're a recruitment today, where can you be in 10 years and where can you be in 5 years? And see if that really fits in your long-term plan, if you do have one, or at least your short-term plan, and see if it really fits. Because I think you as well, we've seen a lot of recruiters who go into the field 2-3 years and then they switch to something else because they just think it's not for them. And I really hated that someone wasted 2 or 3 or 4 years of their career doing a job that they thought it's something and turns out it's not. So I would definitely advise, if you're just starting, reach out to someone, either you know them or through LinkedIn, ask them about the job, learn exactly about the job and how it works, about the bad parts of the job before the good parts of the job, and then genuinely decide if this is for you or not. So that would be my advice for people getting into the field.
Yeah, nice. And what about experienced recruiters? Do you have a tip to like maybe handle workload or just anything random that helps you during the day?
No, I would definitely give the tips that really helped me. Two tips. One of them I already said: become a partner to your business. Please do not become an order taker, because you're just wasting your day just doing routine tasks that is not going to benefit you in anyhow, or you're just going to be good at a routine. So definitely become a partner of your business. You will learn way more about that business and how it works. If you left X company and you move to Y company doing the same job, they will look at you very differently if you know exactly how the business worked in that company.
Yeah.
So I would definitely advise become a partner of your business, understand how the job works, but understand more of how the business works. So you're also able to speak to candidates better. You're able to look at the market in a better way. So that is number one. And number two is that's something I like, but again, that's a personal opinion. I'm not a generalist recruiter. I'm a specialized recruiter. So I would definitely say, if you want to take that track, same as me, become an expert in one field. For example, to me, technology has been my life for the past 3 years. I've recruited everything in technology, from engineers to directors to whatever, and in different fields in technology. And now I'm just very comfortable if I moved from Nike, or if I am with Nike, joining Nike, being in one function, I know exactly what we need to do. I know you can easily identify the points of improvements. You can come in with new ideas that you can apply. So definitely become an expert in what you do, and that's where every company will want to have you. Basically, just to put it like that.
Yeah, and I've just had a random question pop up because I was thinking, about the advice you've just given. This is really, really random, but how do you organize your day? So I was just thinking, like, what kind of advice would I give to someone? Probably just to kind of plan your day, really structure it. Yeah. Do you use your agenda? Or do you use Monday, like an app to help you with that?
Yeah, no, so I only use my calendar, but it's actually a really good question. I struggled a lot with time management. I used to suck at time management, like big time. And with Mobiquity, my previous company, with Paul, hopefully he's listening to this, Paul really taught me how to use my calendar effectively. He taught me how to put blockers on my calendar. And I see a lot of people not really doing that. You just wake up, you say, okay, Monday today, I will work on this 1, 2, 3 position, and I need to close this one, and blah, blah, blah. And you just put it in a to-do list or whatever. It's great, but trust me, you're not going to do that, because we get a lot of distractions, especially if you're in an office. Yes. Even if you're home, you still get a lot of distractions. You use your phone, you listen to music, you do whatever. And he taught me how to put blockers in my calendar, and that really made me sit down, do what I need to do, and after that time, I can do whatever I want. So how I manage my calendar or my week is I generally put in blockers, especially for sourcing, because nowadays I'm not really doing great with sourcing, because with Nike we have a lot of volume, but you put blockers in your calendar to do sourcing. For example, 2 hours, I'm going to source for this specific role. 2 hours, I'm not using my phone. I'm not looking at Slack. I'm not responding to emails. I'm dedicated to those 2 hours for sourcing. Another hour for maybe doing focusing on a side project. Another hour for preparing a couple of offers, whatever, and then have, for example, and he taught me this, but I didn't really do it until now, but it might be a good tip for everybody. He basically does 2 hours or an hour in the middle, in the start of the day to check emails, one in the middle and one at last. Yeah. During the time in the middle, he does not check emails, because if you focus on emails, we get loads of emails on a daily basis, and then you kind of get distracted with something else that came along. Yes. So just to sum it up, put blockers in your calendars, and it genuinely helped me a lot. It made me way more efficient, and it's just it made me use my phone less, which is great.
That's good. I was wondering, because I know some other people are using the project management tools, because essentially recruitment, especially in-house, is like mini projects, because you have a deadline to hire somebody, and you're almost sometimes working in teams to get all the teams on board. And then you also have side projects in HR as well that you're doing that's not recruitment related as well. Exactly. So I'm wondering if some other companies use it, but
definitely. Yeah, no, definitely project management tools really help, but it really organizes your work with other people. For example, like even with Nike, we use, for example, one of the project management tools, and you just get visibility on everything, where everything is in what status and whatnot. And it really helps us collaborating with our hiring managers. I used Trello before, I used Asana, and they really help in organizing work. But if you want to organize your time, then you really need to put the blockers in your calendars to make it more effective and efficient.
Yeah, and I'll be definitely doing that. I'm trying to use the calendar, but I've also got like an online list, and it just keeps adding. I keep adding extra on top, crossing
exactly.
the bottom all the way up. Like you said, it's we just get distracted. We get people calling us randomly. We get random projects thrown at us, new roles thrown at us randomly that need to be acted urgently and stuff like that. So priorities change every day. Maybe that could be my final question then, before we finish this. How do you prioritize workload? So if you have side projects, if you have urgent roles, which are every role possible, how do you establish? So if someone's really struggling with stuff like that, what would you
It's a really good question, and it's one of the things that I'm also still trying to figure out the best way to do it. I won't lie, I am also honestly struggling with it a little bit, especially with my situation right now. We do have a lot of volume hiring, and it's just very hard to prioritize everything because it's not possible. So what I do is I just sit down with every hiring manager. We kind of go through the role, and I just genuinely ask them, how important is the role right now, how the pipeline is looking for your business, and what is the effect of that person not being here in the role? What is the effect on the business right now? And just for me, because every hiring manager wants someone to be there yesterday, that's the sentence for every hiring manager. But for me as a recruiter, I just try to put everything in front of me and see what is genuinely important for the business at the moment. How long has the role has been open? How is the pipeline for candidates looking for each role? Because if I have a lot of applicants on one role, then I don't really need to source for them. Then I just put people through the process, and that's it. That doesn't take a lot of time. So I just look on each role, and I just I kind of prioritize it with myself. But I definitely, for example, have a call with my manager. I'll say, hey, what do you think about this? This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to fill the 10 roles at the same time because I'm not an octopus, but I'm going to prioritize this and this and that. And then these will probably come later because they're not as important as these. I'm still not, I didn't figure out one working solution for it. It's still taking some time. For side projects, if I'm doing a side project, I usually dedicate probably 6 hours of my week, 3 hours in one day or 3 hours in one day, or two, it depends. But that's how I usually put in the time for my side project, because at the end of the day, it is a side project and not my main work. So I just put 6 hours in a week. That's maximum for me. Maybe I will do more if I have the luxury, but I don't have that luxury, obviously. But again, it's a topic that I'm still. If someone listening and actually has a nice tip, please put it in the comments or whatever.
Please tell
but it
us.
is something I'm still struggling with, and I'm still trying to. It's a trial and error. I'm trying things, it doesn't work. I'm trying something else. If it half worked, then I'll try to look for the other half in another way. So What about you?
Delegating.
I think delegating.
I really just look at what's happening, like with my day or with my month in general. And if I can delegate some projects or some roles to someone else who's less busy than me, then I will do that. That definitely helps. But like Mahmoud said, if someone has a good suggestion, please say, because I've been doing this for 7 years. Still because you think like, okay, this is top priority, like this is going to impact the business, I really need to do this. But then you think, like you said, there's only one of me. You're not an octopus. You cannot, if you stretch yourself really thin, that's very problematic. You don't want to burn yourself out. You love what you do, so you want to try and help everyone equally. And then you think, I just can't. I don't have the capacity.
Exactly.
So like you said, just really getting, because everyone says it's an urgent role, but then you think, talking to them, is it really? Is the company gonna be bankrupt tomorrow if you hire somebody? And then even then, the last solution would be to hire like someone temporarily, right? Someone who's got the skill set, just plop them into the team for the time being, if it is absolutely business critical and you just really don't have the time or the resources to help them out with that. But like you said, really do from most urgent to least urgent, and then delegate things to other peers who are less busy than me, and then will become busy because of me.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we've covered almost every topic in recruitment, perhaps not HR, but again, that's not something that we normally talk about on this podcast. Mahmoud, if people want to follow you, what socials do you accept people on? Of course, LinkedIn, Twitter, do you use?
I don't use Twitter. I've never done, never will. I don't really like it. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. Yeah. Mahmoud Ali. You can just find me through Nike.
Yes.
And yeah, that's mostly the main my main professional network that I use.
Yes. Yes. So if you want to follow Mahmoud, make sure you follow him on LinkedIn, and I'll put his @ in the description. So Mahmoud, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We've rescheduled this 4 times for those watching. It's been a bit of a struggle to get this conversation going, but I really appreciate it that you've had time today.
Same here. Thank you very much for inviting me, Daisy. It was definitely nice to have this conversation.